Oh, snap. What up, party peoples? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for joining me for some BrassReel tonight. Also, as always, with me, got my dog Andrew. What it do?
What it is, what it is.
What it is? Yeah, he's in his office way across on the other side of town. No, we like I said, working on this setup a little better every day. Hopefully, this mic situation is a little better. Let's get this a little closer to you this time. Just a little more. That way, you're talking straight into it. How about that?
Yo, 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 yo.
Maybe a little more. I know it might be slightly in your face, but it'll be all right. I promise. Try it now.
Check, check.
Oh yeah, that's way better. Now we're on the same level. So, anyways, guys, we just saw Nope last night. Holy shite.
Or yes.
Yep. Yep. We saw Nope. So, what did you think, man? First and foremost, are you happy with the movie?
I'll go ahead and give it the grading right now. I'm gonna give this a B plus.
All right, yeah, I've got it right at an A minus. So, it's there's just one little thing that I was kind of disappointed with what went down. Not that I was disappointed in what that thing was. There was just certain elements that I didn't think they went far enough with. But
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll explain why.
yeah. So I mean, are you a fan of Jordan Peele's stuff in the past? I know we were talking about Us a little bit, and I know you've seen Get Out, which I think all of us can agree. Oh, shoot, wrong thing there. I think all of us can agree that Get Out is awesome. Everybody loves Get Out, right?
Oh yeah, no. See, I think Jordan Peele, the genius thing about that guy is you thought he was a comedian this whole time, and it's actually turns out no, he's actually a genius horror filmmaker. He's good at doing apparently everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's really doing a good job at his career.
Yeah. I mean, not only I mean, he's directing and writing all of these little horror films. And I think that he's and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know him clearly, but I'm thinking that he's heavily influenced by M. Night.
I think that there's something there for sure. I mean, he's got, even if he doesn't realize it, or if he doesn't realize he's trying to make similar styles of films, they are falling in the very similar category.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, but I like it because just like M. Night, it's showing me stuff that I've never seen before in an approach to a storyline, original stuff that's not just been overdone. Yeah, we've seen alien invasion movies, but nothing like the way you're feeling even when you're watching this trailer. And I can guarantee you, when you watch the movie, it's not an approach you've seen before.
Right. And he's not afraid to take chances. I mean, M. Night does. I mean, not everything M. Night did or continues to do is on the level of Sixth Sense or Signs, but he takes chances.
He's definitely taking chances, and I'm ready to see what he's going to do next. I mean, I can't tell you that everything that he's done has been tip top and just amazing, but it's all been good. And still think Get Out was amazing. This was almost amazing, but just a couple of things didn't fully tie in like I wanted them to,
Yeah.
So first off, getting to the way this movie opens, and this is spoiler talk if you didn't know that by clicking on the channel, but the way this movie opens, and honestly, I couldn't find the best pictures of it, but I'm going to try to find some stuff here. But there's this monkey in this TV show, and it's called Gordy's Home. And from the very beginning, and again, I'm about to get on this. I don't have my mouse, so it's hard for me to scroll and see these pictures. But it's literally the first thing you see in the movie is this stage. Oh gosh, my computer is this stage that's beaten all to hell.
Yeah.
And it's obviously something where they're filming something. And if you can't tell, that's a monkey right there jumping across some shice.
And you hear some dialogue, and you're not quite sure what to make of it. You're not, it kind of adds in, it kind of flashes back, and you see what really is happening on that in that little picture right there. And then the dialogue you heard at the beginning starts making more sense.
Yeah, but I got to say that there's something very frightening about the idea of something going terribly wrong on a sitcom set.
Involving an animal, no less.
And the fact that this has kind of never been explored, I've never seen in a movie of them like talking about this haunted story would happen on set while they were filming at a sitcom. We've heard about it on movies like The Crow, and then unfortunately, recently like on Rust and things like that. But I've never heard of this horror story of anything happening on set of a sitcom. And man, I got to tell you, I could have watched a whole movie just about that kind of stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure.
I think that we were agreeing on that. Now, with that being said, there's something that goes down in this with this whole thing with this monkey or this chimp that they make it seem like it's going to have a huge impact on what you're going to watch down the road in this film. And the main thing is, and like I said, we'll go ahead and give these spoilers away because I want to see if anybody has any comments about this or puts comments in it later if they've seen the movie in a few days. But like right here, if you look in the background where that okay, this is a monkey beating up this woman, just terrorizing her, just beating her all to hell, eating her face off. And you see the monkey. They're not going to show it right here because I couldn't find any pics of it online yet. The movie's brand new, but
Yeah, you see the monkey, you hear them or see the monkey go away and then come back into frame, and he's just soaked in blood.
and all around its mouth and like all around its hands, and it's like dripping down over where from its chin off of its
Yeah,
mouth, and it's just no blood anywhere above the mouth.
right.
It was all here down, and it was just
And the creepy thing is, when he comes back into frame in that scene, uh, uh, it's almost like it's calmed down. Whatever it is that came over him that made him go on this rampage, he kind of just starts. He's kind of calmed down, and then he looks at this body, and so it's kind of tapping her leg, like, hey, hey, hey.
yeah, right here. It's like, but this, and again, this is before it's like starts tapping its leg, like, oh, hey, you don't want to play anymore. But like right here, if you look in the back and look right above her foot, actually, you'll see in the background there's a shoe, and the shoe's just standing straight up. So like obviously, if you got your phone or something, you can look real closely at that. But you'll see right above where her left foot, but it's the foot that's on our right. There's a shoe right behind there in the background, just standing straight up from its heel, like something's keeping it standing up. And then later on, is it Stephen Yeun?
Mm-hmm.
His character, who is this little kid watching this monkey or this chimp. So this scene right here, this kid is watching this happen. And that's why you see the little like kind of blurry spot up on the top of the screen, because that's the tablecloth that he's hiding under this table. And so you're seeing this kid watch it, who later on is this guy grown up. And he still has that shoe that you see in the background
In a frame.
And they keep on making you think that something's going to be up with this shoe, and nothing ever happens of it. There's some correlation with the monkey, and we're going to get to that in a second, of why maybe they focused on this monkey a little bit, but it wasn't a direct like wow moment with the monkey, but it's something that if it would have just been that without the shoe involved, I would have been like, that was a cool, interesting addition. I'd like to dive into that more, see what he was really trying to attach onto there. But with the shoe in there, I'm like, where you going, bro?
Yeah. Well,
Now,
the thing is there's not a callback to that later. There's nothing else that happens later on in the film where another shoe is standing straight up or anything else that's weird like that. So there's no that's what I mean. Like you didn't have any. There was nothing else that was put in the film that tied in that shoe and how weird it was. It was standing straight up. There's no another person's shoe, no other glass or anything that was kind of off balance, or and nothing weird aside from that shoe. So it's like, well, where were you going with that? What was the significance of that?
yeah, I'm with you, man, and I was waiting for it. I wanted to see what the tie-in was, because this one, like to me, Us was pretty ambiguous at the very end of it. Like it left a lot for you to have to figure out. This one wasn't like necessarily like that movie. This one had much more of like they give you some answers, and you have a kind of a payoff that's like, all right, that was pretty cool. There was an ending there that feels like the movie's over. Not like at the end of Us, I'm like, so these people are holding hands across America, and the doppelgangers came out, and now they're. It's like if they would have stopped the Jurassic World trilogy at Fallen Kingdom. And it's like, really? They're just out there? So I just didn't understand that, but still well made movie. This one, it wraps things up. You know what I mean?
Aside from the monkey stuff.
Yeah, except for just this thing with why did that. So do you want to tell the big kicker of what's going on with this stuff in the sky, or what? Or do you, I mean, so obviously if you've seen the trailers, you've seen, oh, let me cut to a better shot here. That one had the. There we go.
Oh yeah.
So you see these sky stuff going on, and right now you can't really see this darker cloud that's to the left. Anything wrong with it? But the more time passes, the more they realize that, like, holy shit, all the other clouds are moving, but this cloud is staying right there, and it's not, the cloud itself isn't like pulsating or manipulating into shapes or anything. It's just staying like that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm gonna take it back to you see Keith David, or is it David Keith?
You know, I think it's David Keith, but I always have that problem, dude, of not being able to say Keith David or David Keith.
I think it's David Keith. So he plays the father of the brother and sister, and they're ranchers, and they're like the first. I guess it's like the first black family to have a ranch and have animals or horses and animals that are trained to be in Hollywood movies, and that's kind of like their big selling point. And so he's sitting right there on the horse, just like that, and you see something in the sky, and you hear some weird noises up in the sky, and then all of a sudden some stuff starts falling from the sky, and you're like, what in the world is that? And then, as it turns out, it's like coins and stuff that you might have in your pockets, like a key. There's like a key that sticks in the horse, and as it turns out, one of those coins fell so high from the sky it shot into David Keith's.
Well, first off, you don't know what's going on, and you just see him over there, and then Daniel Kaluuya
hunched over like that. Yeah,
turns around and he's like, "Dad," and then he sees him like that, and then all of a sudden, it's like boom, he's on the floor. He falls. I mean, he's on the ground, and then of course he runs over there, and then proceed, Andrew.
Well, then, he rolls him over, and half of his face looks like it's just gone. And so he rushes him to the hospital. And then you see that right there, and then you see an X-ray, and it was a coin. A coin went through his eye into his brain.
So see the eye on the left, there's a gash in there, and then there that little circle in the middle of his brain, there's that coin. Just right in there. I mean, and they say that you're not supposed to drop coins off of like the Chrysler building right. and stuff like that because they'll impale into people's head. That's what they say. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, but you see like a house key that fell so high that it stuck into the side of the horse,
like in the hind quarter muscle of the horse, and it's just sticking with a key ring on it.
Yeah, so it's so bizarre. Well, you find out later on how that happened. We can get to that later.
Well, I mean, we're approaching it. So what's going on now after that? It's a few months pass, and what happens is that these people have to, Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer, their brother and sister, they have to essentially carry on the business of what their dad started, which was introducing trained horses into the Hollywood industry. And his great-grandfather actually had done it, or great-great-grandfather, something like that. And so the whole thing is they have this sort of legacy, and then lo and behold, just blink, snap of an eye, talking to his dad, and all of a sudden dad falls off the horses because flying change hit him in the head, stabbed him straight through. So now every night after that, not every night after that, he's been there for a little while, but he feels like he's been, maybe witnessing some weird things. But as soon as Keke Palmer gets there, they start just seeing weird stuff at night, right? I mean, that's kind of how it's going down.
It starts hearing weird things from a distance and not quite sure what it is. Looks up in the sky and sees something moving and is like, "Did I just see that? Did I just see that?"
Man. And I tell you, I tried to get the shot of it because there's a shot in the trailer of him looking at the sky, and that this might be it. Okay, there's one of them. So you see the UFO on the side of the moon right there. You see how it's dipping into the moon?
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Like that's it. Like it almost makes the moon look like Pac-Man. They use the first off, you can't tell that it's CG at all. Like, I gotta commend him on that for making everything look and feel really real. Mm-hmm. Like, I never once was thinking, that damn LED screen, or oh, here we go, look at that, there's the outline. You can tell. My brain never even thought about that because it all looked and felt believable. Even when the rain's falling on the house and it's the blood rain and all. I mean, I just was very happy with that. So the way they depicted this ship in the air, dude, and the way it moved so fast and so quietly and everything, it was scary. I mean, I think they succeeded in making it scary, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, what he notices eventually is that this UFO uh, is coming and going, and it's like it's hiding in the clouds. Because I think in fact I think there's one thing where he says it's in the clouds, it's in the clouds, and then you find out um, that there's a specific cluster of clouds that never moves. You in fact you see on the screen like all the clouds shifting in the sky except for this one cluster of clouds, and that's where this UFO, I mean, is basically hiding, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, and I had a shot of it earlier. Sorry, I don't mean to keep this one up. I was trying to. I had another shot pulled up where it literally shows like one part of the cloud, and then all of a sudden you see like this other cloud. It's like, yeah, that mofo hadn't moved. But anyways, I'll get off of this.
But then so he goes and tries to get to like a what is it, a Fry's Electronics, and goes and gets some cameras and to set him up in the house, because he's like he knows he at this point he's finally convinced there's something in the sky, there's something going on. I'm going to find out what it is. So then the Fry's guy kind of starts getting curious. What are you guys what are you guys trying to do here?
Which I got to say, at first I thought like I seen him in the trailer. It's like it's going to be some pretty boy. That's just going to be some dude you don't. But I really liked him, and I cared about him and his character in the movie. I thought he was cool. It was just the right amount of naivety from that young kid, but also like
Yeah,
he was kind of cool, but not. But at this, I don't know. It worked. It wasn't overkill. I
yeah.
really liked it.
Well, he was very intrigued by what it was that they were setting up, and then so he starts logging into their cameras while he's at work and catching some things himself.
Yeah, and he's believing, and he has his own theories about some of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But uh, his whole presence with them and the way that they just sort of invite him in and let him just start helping out because he's so like passionate about it. And they set up these type of cameras. Bad shot. They set up these cameras all over the place. Um, and I think they made some suggestions. I think for a second there, they wanted you to think that because there's a moment that once they start viewing everything, a praying mantis gets on the camera.
Mm.
And I feel like they definitely wanted you to think that, are these things controlling the bugs, or is it, and were they? Because where they want you to start thinking is that maybe that these things can sort of harness an animal's behavior, because that was what they were trying to say maybe with the monkey in the beginning. It goes crazy and all of a sudden it just snaps out of it, and it's even trying to be friends with the little kid for a second. And so, I mean, was that what they were trying to say with the praying mantis?
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know the so there's a moment where there's the one chance they have. Oh, okay. So one thing we need to touch on is every time that this every time this alien, this UFO gets in your vicinity, all electronic stuff dies. Lights are going out.
Oh,
music
yeah.
goes out. Your car will not start anymore.
Phone,
Everything.
Phone goes black, like there was never a charge.
Right. So the one camera they have set up at this one moment, that's just far enough out of the radius of where this thing can kill the electronics, is the only one working, and it's got a praying mantis covering it, so they can't see anything. So it's kind of like that's what Bobby's talking about. It's like, are we supposed to believe that thing was maybe controlling that bug and having it stay there, so that nobody could see this thing, which is also explained maybe was this thing back in the in the 90s when this TV show was happening, and it did something to that monkey,
right?
That's the only thing we can think of,
yeah,
because he didn't tie it in.
Yeah, it's just like they just give you the pilot episode of all that story, but never give you anything else. It's like, well, god dang it. And what I figured out too is that I have to believe, and I'm trying to see if I have the shot in here somewhere. Okay, so this guy is a cameraman that they're trying to hire.
Good old Michael Wincott.
And they're trying to get him to work in the beginning of the movie with just something they're shooting, and then it's basically a way for them to show how they cross paths with the two other, the brother and sister.
Yeah.
But after that, when it shows him doing this in his studio editing stuff, and I know that I took a picture of it on here. I'll just have to find it and see if I can put it up. But it shows a reflection of a monkey in his glasses, and it's the footage he's editing. And so I'm wondering if he was on the set here, like right here. So I wonder if he was on the set filming Gordy, and he's got some ideas in his head too. That's why he was sort of like out there helping where to get that perfect shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's just all kinds of things that, first off, like lots of layers to this movie. I think that you're going to need to watch it multiple times. I know I am.
Yeah.
I got to watch it
Well,
again.
apparently Jordan Peele even said in an interview, he's like, everyone's probably going to need to watch this more than once.
Yeah. And that's fine, because I don't mind with movies that make you work for it a little bit. What I don't like is when they're like Tenet, and it's like, all right, I've seen this 9 times. I've spent about 16 hours analyzing it outside of the 9 times I've watched it, and I still don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Or even Interstellar.
Yeah,
not confusing at all.
I get that way more than Tenet. I mean, I'm not trying to get on an offshoot here, but Tenet was still one of the most confusing films I've ever seen, because and I think that's what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to make your brain worn out. Because like, wait, time loop, but it's moving backwards,
yeah.
and then they have the backwards parallel. It's like, instead of the upside down, it's the backwards down, and it was just whack.
Well, so what's her name?
Keke Palmer.
So she's
awesome.
She ends up calling up that Michael Wincott's character. He's a cinematographer, and she tells him, like, there is something going on out here that we think that you could get a shot of, and it could be the shot you've been dreaming of. You know, the shot of a lifetime.
And there's that undercurrent of that as well, of them, you know, people wanting to make their money off of something that's crazy and extravagant.
Right. Yeah. We're gonna make a name for ourselves by getting famous by having the shot of this UFO.
Gonna get that honeypot shot.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's kind of becomes one of those things where they convince him, or he eventually starts seeing things himself and believes them. So he's like, I guess I'll give this a shot and see what you got. See what's going on here.
And he seems to be pretty. Once he's hearing what they have to say, he's pretty adamant on it, because he gets out there and looks at the cloud, and he's like, that cloud hadn't moved 1 damn inch in the last however many.
Yeah. So he notices that cloud not moving
right here. This shot right here
immediately. Yeah.
And it's this cloud up right above the mountains. You see that lone cloud by itself, because it stays looking like that the whole time. And what's cool is, and they do a depiction of this in there, you know, sometimes clouds are moving so slowly. If a cloud's standing still, you don't think anything above it, because it's just one of those clouds standing still. But when they time lapse it in this, it's really cool. They're just like, look at this, like all this, and this thing is staying right there. And to me, it made me think of, like, that's clever of the aliens. You know, like that's pretty clever, and that is clever. There's a lot of things in this movie that haven't been done before, which I really liked, or an approach to it that has never been done before that I really liked. And so, as you can see, like right now, we've all heard of the ship pulling people up, and, you know, you think it's this UFO the whole time. And so basically we find out, do you want to just go ahead and say it, that it's not a UFO, but it is an alien. The whole thing itself is a creature. So right away, I thought that was a pretty cool little approach to, like, okay, who are these people and what are they trying to do? It was definitely, oh yeah, the UFOs you've been seeing this whole time. What if?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they're not UFOs, and it's actually a creature sent down from another even bigger race, or maybe that, you know, all these theories you can lend to yourself.
Well, you could still say it's an alien. But it wasn't an alien inside it. The whole thing is an animal.
No, that's what I just said. Were you not listening?
Well, I just mean like and like
that's what I said. It's like it is an alien. It's just not a ship.
Right.
It's a beast.
There's nothing inside of it. It, like, the whole thing is an animal, and it's eating things. So you find out you later find out how the things fell from the sky in the opening act. Is because it was eating stuff, and as
discarding,
the stuff was falling out of people's pockets from the sky.
Now, so they do this thing too, where they figure this out, that this thing is starting to eat stuff, and so they have this decoy horse that they put out there, which is what those flags are. You know, all those flags you see hanging down from it. And I thought I had a picture of that, but I guess I don't. But, you know, you see all these flags hanging down from the sky. You know, even in the original poster, there's all these, like, flags that you would see, like, at a, you know, car sale or something. And what they do with that is they attach it to this fake horse, because this thing has been sucking up the horses. and it's been messing with the horses, and they feel like, oh, I see what we can do. Let's fool it. And it like tries to eat something that's not biomatter, something that's actually just a solid piece of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it messes it up. And so so they're realizing that if we can get it to sort of fake eat something all the way, not like put it in its mouth and spit it out, but like actually eat it, kind of like us if we were to eat, something like a whole bottle of Tylenol. You can swallow it, but then in about 2 hours, you're going to be screwed.
Or more like if you swallow something that has like a string to it, the string might get stuck in your throat, and now it's bothering you.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of what they were doing with multiple things. And they figure that out. And so there's a level of simplicity to what they're doing, I think, in this. And a lot of people have compared this movie so far to Jaws, and it is kind of, as far as the tactics. It's not a ripoff of the story whatsoever. It's definitely its own thing. But as far as small crew, let's bait it. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get this thing. We
Yeah.
don't really know what it looks like, and we don't even know how threatening it is until they finally see how big it is at the end of Jaws, and like,
We're gonna need a
holy
bigger boat.
shit. Yeah, and that's kind of how this is. Once you find out that it's a creature before the movie, I mean, the movie still has like 30 minutes left, and you actually know what it is at this point.
Yeah.
So then there's the whole chase that they go on. So I think it was the least horror of his movies yet, while still being very scary. It was just, I would call it more of a sci-fi thriller, sci-fi suspense type deal, because it was horrific. And there are moments like there's this moment where they are at this, oh, I forgot I don't have a mouse. They're at this ranch that this other guy, Stephen Yeun, he owns, and it's called Jupiter's Claim.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think this is a better shot of it right here. Yeah, Jupiter's Claim right there. And so he's kind of harnessed the area where this thing keeps showing up. And it turns out that he's been feeding them horses behind this thing.
Yeah, because he thinks he's gonna sell tickets to this thing for people to see. So he's been, like Bobby said, he's been feeding it. You find out he's been renting these horses because he's been feeding this thing horses, and he's finally got enough. I guess you could say, what is he after enough time he finally sells tickets to it, and has a crowd of people there. And then things kind of go awry.
Yeah, very awry. And he doesn't realize that what's about to happen happens, but it does. And that's the moment where it really gets to its horror elements, as far as like basically all these people, like all of them there including him, get all sucked up, and it gets sucked up into this sort of weird funnel thing that you see glimpses of in the beginning, but you're also thinking in the beginning that that's a camera. And what do you think the parallels were to that green thing coming out of the monster that was sort of like looking like you were inside of the camera at the beginning of the movie? It was that.
Oh yeah,
that was kind of strange. In fact, right now, let me pull that. We got some comments in here, and I'm drawing a Son Hendo. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being a part of the stream. Saying agreed, sci-fi thriller. So, do you think that thing went, like when it was eating everybody and sucking them all up right there, was it just about to start attacking the world? What do you think? I mean, at that point, was it fed up? It's like, I'm done with the horses, I'm going to start eating the people.
Well, no, I think that was he points out that it's territorial, and it feels like anybody that's in what this thing thinks is his territory, he's going to go eat. And because they point out Daniel, what's his character's
Kaluuya?
name?
Oh, I can't. OJ.
So the main character's name is OJ. So he realizes, he's like, this thing is an animal, and when it's hungry, it's coming out, and it's like eating you, and it's also very territorial. It thinks that where they are is his or hers, and so it's trying to eat. So that's kind of when they start trying to feel realize or figure out how they can beat this thing. Is okay, if it wants to eat things, what can we have it suck up that might hurt it?
Yeah, and that part right there, when it's sucking it up, and you see that little funnel area of them, all the people, like, oh my god,
that is the creepy.
That's
part,
pretty
man.
creepy right there.
So this thing comes out way earlier than Stephen Yeun's character anticipates, because he's been watching this thing for the last like 6 weeks. You realize, and it comes out earlier than anticipated, and it flies above this thing, and it's very like Independence Day esque, where like instead of a beam coming down and blowing things up, it kind of hovers above them and just sucks them all in.
Yeah.
And so then you see a shot of all these people like they're crammed in like a really really tight narrow hallway, but it's actually for lack of a better explanation, it's like its stomach,
like stomach or digestive tract or
digestive
something.
tract.
Yeah,
You can hear them, and as the thing flies around the sky, you can hear them all screaming, and then it finally just decides. It's almost like it decides, I'm going to swallow you now.
Yeah.
And that's when everything starts falling out from the sky. All of their clothes and things are in their pockets, because it didn't want that part, so it drops it.
So what about now? How do you explain let me get to it because I got a picture of it here. So if it's dropping the keys and dropping all the just stuff out of the sky, how do you explain the blood coming down? Because blood didn't come down with the keys. So is this thing eaten? Because there's coins and everything later on the next day when they wake up. Everybody's stuff's out there.
Oh yeah, well, because it also sucked up parts of the carnival.
Yeah, so there are pieces of the carnival everywhere. So it's like,
I don't think that blood part, that's intentional. That thing knows that there's people in that house.
So it's messing with them.
It's messing with them. Okay. I think it's obvious.
Spitting on them.
I think it's like spitting on them, and it's taunting them. Like, I know that you're in there, and I know you're trying to mess with me, and this is what you get. And so it, like, all of those people that it just swallowed,
they're screaming right before that blood comes down.
And then the blood comes down.
After the screaming just comes to a halt. And then,
and that's probably one of the scariest, creepiest
very
moments.
Gothic,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
And what's really good about this movie, I think, is that actually it puts you in a state of mind that's sort of, one, I wasn't able to take my eyes off the screen. It definitely reels you in. Jordan Peele's a master at building suspense at this point. He really knows how to get you on the edge of your seat and be like, all right, what's up? And so he definitely reels you in that way.
Yeah, but it's like I pointed out earlier, it's very M. Night, because it's not revealing anything too quickly, just enough to get you to keep you interested until things finally hit the fan.
And I tell you what, too, man, I do think that the twist will be, the reveal of the fact that it's a beast and not a ship, that might be the make or break for some people. I mean, who knows? But just like M. Night, it's like the make or break is the twist. Is the twist do it for you, or is the twist make it just like, nope, I don't like this?
Yeah.
But the other creepy part, which I thought was cool, but I knew him when I was watching it, it's like, there ain't no way he's just showing these aliens right off.
I was about to go there. Yeah.
But it was creepy and well done, in the way they're creeping behind the corners and stuff. And one of them just pops out while in front of them, while the other one's over here. And there's a moment where they show these aliens. However, the mask for the aliens was just way too on the nose, and it looked too like little green men, and I knew it wasn't going to be actually it. But
it turns out it was local kids who were dressed up as aliens, because
from the Jupiter's Claim ranch.
Part of that carnival, the ranch, and they were trying to scare OJ and his sister. But the way they did that made you think for a good second or two, like, oh my God.
Well, it puts you in a state of tension, like I said, and he's really good at that.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, you're really, up until, even when it's all happening, you're wondering, like, are they going to kill this thing, or is it just going to take over? But when you really find out what it is, I mean, up until then, it's very much like, I just have no clue what's up with what's this, until you realize, oh, it's a beast. It's a creature. Then you have kind of your claws into what's going on. But up until that moment, you're really just in the dark. And I love that about it. You're not in the dark that you're confused. You're just like, what is it?
Yeah. And one cool thing, so OJ's character seems to be that kind of character that catches on to things that normal folk may not catch on to very quickly. He started noticing things in the sky, not so, which was a bit more subtle, I guess you could say, that, and he kind of catches onto it. And he's just very aware and starts noticing things much quicker. And there's a moment where, so the bottom of this thing, which you think is like its eye, I guess you could say, and it's what people are getting sucked into. It's also his mouth. It's very reminiscent of like a horse's eye, and they deal with horses, and horses don't like. He flashes back to a moment where he's trying to tell people like, hey, don't put that into its don't put that microphone or mirror up to the horse's eye. It freaks him out. So he just kind of, for whatever reason, he just realizes maybe if I don't look at it in the eye, it won't get me. And that seems to be something that
Yeah, it
works.
seems to be something that works. Like, I guess even though it's a creature from another world, doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's like the super smartest
Like
creature in the
Medusa,
world.
don't look at her in the face. Well, when this thing's hovering above you, don't look at it.
And that's the thing. Everybody in the trailer's all looking up, even on the picture of the one that I have behind me right there. They're all looking up.
Yeah.
See. Um, so I want to put this up there. VYB Daily says this movie was straight trash ass. Also saying that OJ was one dimensional. Well, first off, I appreciate anybody's opinion on any movie because we can't like it all together. I think that's what makes it all good is when people have their actually, it's okay to not like stuff. And I do think that this movie's not going to work for some people. I think some people are going to be disappointed in it. Like I said, I was slightly disappointed in Us. Um, but I disagree with you on the OJ was one dimensional because Andrew and I were talking about this earlier. Daniel Kaluuya is very good at being silent as an actor. Now, he might have been sort of similar in Get Out and this one as far as the way he was behaving and responding to people. But that being said, he does a really good job, in my opinion, of conveying a lot without saying anything. And I appreciate that about him. Now, I can honestly say that he seems very similar of the same guy in Get Out and this, you know.
Yeah, I think that maybe he's a little bit of a stilted actor. Well, he does good at he does
He has
good.
a bag of tricks.
Yeah, he does good at doing what you just saw.
Yeah, right. Um, but yeah, and I think you're kind of saying a little bit what we just said. I mean, I think he's got some range because he was definitely showed some difference in Black Panther, but um, I do see the same guy a little bit in Get Out in this movie. However, I still enjoyed him on the screen in this movie. I wasn't sitting there. It's not like, and again, I love you, Mark Wahlberg, for so many things, but there's only so many Mark Wahlberg movies where I'm seeing that
Yeah. Oh, let
same
me guess. He's a cop.
exact
He's a cop from
portrayal,
Boston.
and it's not even the role, it's just the way he delivers everything. After a while it just starts to become like, I'm sorry, I don't see the character, I see Mark Wahlberg. Sorry, my mic went out. I see Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't see the
I feel
character,
the same. I think there's very few movies where I think he's something other than Mark Wahlberg as a Boston cop or something.
No, he does good at that.
Yeah.
He's fine at that. He was good in The Fighter, but even then, The Fighter was more about Christian Bale's performance
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
anyways. I'm getting off on there. And but yeah, and I like he agrees right here. He says, "I was waiting for it to hit," and yes, Mark Wahlberg is the same. Say hello to your mother for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, there was one other thing I was wanting to touch on though that we were talking about, and I lost my train of thought. But we were talking about it eating people. This thing's a beast now. Oh, and it not being the smart. Oh, and you got to look in the eyes or not look in the eyes. So that was kind of a set of rules that was kind of weird. That it worked. You know what I mean? I guess I could have enjoyed a little bit more complexity to that. But what I really liked was the way that they do kill this thing at the end.
Yeah.
And I really thought that was clever because they used physics. You know, they definitely used physics to. Hey, again, thanks for watching and tuning into the stream daily. Got a little laugh out loud there. But in most movies, we're killing the alien, and I say most movies, and things like War of the Worlds, they realize that it's the water and all that stuff. And Signs, it's the water, but it's a different way. It's the water that touches their skin, which I thought was stupid. But sometimes we got to think about how to do it. And I like this one. It was just like, hey, this motherfucker wants to be a dumbass eater. Let's blow him up from the inside and eat this big balloon. Because look, if you were to swallow something that was full of air and you were able to actually get that down and somehow or another it were to pop inside of you and it was that big, it probably would do some hardcore damage. Uh-oh, got a little Amber Alert there, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess another thing was kind of unresolved, but I guess the implication is that they'll find it. Is that the director, the great Michael Wincott, he sacrifices himself for the what does he call it? The
The
shot of
impossible shot.
the impossible shot. He sacrifices his life, so he lets that thing suck him up as he's trying to record with his non-electrical
Yeah, he's got a crank
camera,
camera. He
a
built
crank
a crank
camera.
film
Yeah,
camera.
because they told him that electricity will go out. So he builds this thing and he lets it suck him up as he's recording, and you see, as it, because it it eats him, so everything falls down from the sky, and you see the roll of film kind of roll down a hill, and you're just supposed. I mean, they don't ever go back to that, so
No.
I guess the implication is that they will go get it or find it.
Keegan Michael Key is going to do the sequel. I want to see what else. We got some more comments coming in here real quick. Again, got some viewers, so appreciate you guys commenting in. Said it was Jupiter's kids in the alien costume because he said, yeah, that's right. That
right, because she stole that horse from
that decoy horse. She had actually stolen. There's a moment that's kind of a comedic moment where they're hollering across the field from each other and yelling at each other. Because they both know that, like Kiki and OJ know they're busted, but they're just trying to avoid it and keep him over there.
Yeah.
See, and then VB Daily got some, or VYB Daily. I think it missed the encounter rules from 1st to 5th. Are you talking about the music in First Encounter? The I think that's what you're referring to, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just a dumbass. But I do feel like that this was like a hybrid of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Twister, Jaws, and I said another one earlier, and I'm drawing a blank on it right now for some reason. But it was like 4 hybrid movies into one.
Signs.
Yeah, I guess Signs was the other one that we said.
Well, so okay, so what one thing that happens is it sucks up. What is it? They get it to suck up something, and
it's a balloon,
and it starts coming apart. Like because you realize that this
beforehand
as this film progresses, you realize that this thing is not like, it's not like some sort of metal UFO that's sucking things up. It's acting like it's a big balloon or a parachute. And so as it sucks something up that's getting too big for it, you think that, oh, it's working. It sucked up something that's so big it's like tearing it apart. But what you realize is that what it's doing is it's purposely coming apart and turning into, like maybe its true self rather than like an oval shaped balloon.
And it's pretty much at this moment right here. And
yeah,
it truly like expands out into something that you know, like this weird flower butterfly looking thing. And
yeah. And if you look closely enough, you can, I pointed this out. If you look closely enough, whenever it's completely, detached and it looks like it's breaking apart, but it's actually forming into a different being. It looks like it basically looks like it's forming a face, and I think you realize that it's doing that on purpose. It's trying to communicate with them more now and trying to take them a different way rather than in the disc shape.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. If you notice, the disc is not actually a full-on disc. It's like a weird oblong. It's like a hybrid between like a sphere and a circle.
Yeah.
A sphere and an oval, excuse me. A sphere and a circle, same thing. But you know what I'm saying? So like there are parts of it where it's rounded and then parts of it where it almost comes to some sort of a tip on the edge of it. But that's because, and then even when it's flying on its side, it almost looks like a mushroom, like the bottom of a mushroom at one point. Because man, this thing, like once they get down and they start fighting it, and they do some clever stuff with this stuff, right? So like these guys right here, the little flailing arm men, they use those as signaling for themselves that like they're battery powered. So when the thing is near above in the clouds and it's above it, those things will stop flailing. And I thought that was just a really clever thought. I mean, to put that in the movie, it makes it more interesting. And then I like that. So, but that scene right there is pretty much where it all goes down. That's where it unfolds, and it looks like it's a hard object right there, but it's clearly not once it unfolds. And I tried to find pictures of it online, and it's just too soon.
Yeah. And OJ realizes that, it's better that I ride a horse because at one point you see a reporter from TMZ, because it's gotten out in the national news that 40 some odd people from a carnival have mysteriously disappeared out in the middle of this no man's land. So it starts kind of getting out there that, what's going on in this specific area. So then somebody rolls up in a microphone and a camera on a motorcycle, trying to get Kiki to comment and say, admit what's going on. And then as that person is speeding off, that thing is coming for him, and the motorcycle just comes to an abrupt stop, probably going 80 miles an hour, and it flies out.
And
So
it's like
yeah,
almost like the Wilhelm scream
yeah.
almost.
And OJ goes out there to try to help him on the horse, but that thing's starting to get too close. He's like, adios.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Sorry, I'm out of here. Um, and you know what? I gotta acknowledge this right here too, because Daly just sent in another deal talking about the scores. Okay, saying it felt like it was watching Star Trek. I gotta I gotta agree with you on that a little bit, because there were moments where I was like, this could sound a little bit more scary, but it was almost like kind of like adventure epic sounding when they're like taking down the creature at the end. And it kind of had that westerny Star Trek score to it. I do agree with you there. So I wish that could have been, I wish it would have just been a little darker like it was at moments.
Yeah, the best scary score music is actually closer to the beginning, and when you see the kids disguised as aliens.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it for a second, you're like, oh, shit. But then I think if you're smart enough to realize that they're not blowing their load this early in the film,
Yeah,
but it's still effective in the moment, you know, and it's there for what it was trying to be. It was trying to be a slight red herring, but it also it worked with the plot line too. They
yeah,
were there for a reason. It wasn't
right.
just to give you a scare. And you know, I was going to answer Clinto, what's up, dog? Answer some of your stuff right here. You're asking if it was scary, but it looks like Daly's been answering that for you, letting you know. So awesome, sweet. I thought it was scary, like Daly said, in a sci-fi sort of what's out there kind of way. But you know, there's different types of scary. There's different types of horror. There's the Rob Zombie House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects horror, and then there's this type of horror that's slightly ambiguous. I mean, some people would even say that The Arrival has elements that seem horrific because of just the unknown aspect of it, you know? So to me, that's what's scary about it. It's so unknown and such otherworldly that how could it not have an element
Yeah.
of fear, you
Well,
know?
yeah, and I hate trying to compare it again, or and rehash or talk about Signs again, but there were a few moments in M. Night's Signs that were like, oh, and that's the extent of it. It wasn't meant to be a edge of your seat thriller, but there were some moments.
Yeah, and I thought it all, and I wasn't expecting to see edge of your seat thriller. I was expecting to see one. I was expecting this to be different from all of other Jordan Peele films, and it was. It Us was different from Get Out, and this was different from Us and Get Out. So I appreciate that. But we talked about this earlier a little bit, Daily. The monkey, Gordy. So that's our one complaint about the film is we don't really understand the full connection with Gordy and what was going on in the end product of things. We like what we saw with Gordy terrorizing the movie set and everything, and the whole idea of a family sitcom gone wrong because of a monkey eating some woman's face off and murdering people on the set. Like, we love all that, but we are with you. Like, where did it go? And
There was no link to the monkey and the alien entity. Like what was the correlation there? And it was kind of left unresolved.
yeah. And again, I see the idea. So we were trying to decide, and again, the monkey thing, I could see, you know, taming animals. They were horse trainers, taming animals, getting animals to do what you want them to do so you can benefit off of it. And this whole thing sort of like using us as food, this creature that I could see their parallels there. What I can't understand is the floating shoe and why Stephen Young's character had that floating shoe framed later. They made it seem like we were going to come back to that floating shoe right there in the middle of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm confused about. That's what I think we're like, that's where we needed some tie in,
Yeah.
because you made us feel like you were going to tie it into something.
Right. Like, I mean, even it would have been just as confusing, I guess. But even like when all these things start flying from the sky, you could have had a shoe fall and just lands like that. That would have been like, okay, I guess there's the correlation there. But even then, that would have been confusing.
Yeah. And look, son, I hope I'm saying this right. Son Hendo, you're saying it wasn't misguided. And again, I don't think that the monkey, sorry, I don't think that the monkey being in the whole thing was misguided, because I like that element. And I could see maybe the themes underlying that Jordan Peele was trying to do with this whole like species controlling species type deal. Higher species, more powerful species controlling other species. And so they revolt.
Yeah.
That's what was going on with this alien UFO creature thing. It's trying to eat us, and we revolted. And the same thing with the monkey. Revolt. Like I see that. It's that damn shoe that I don't see, that I just can't understand what was going on with that.
Mm.
Um,
Because you don't put something like that that has some significance to it and not resolve it.
So he's saying like this. He said he was creating his own narrative while he's watching it. He's like, he thinks the aliens were popping the set balloons, making it freak out, making the monkey. Because remember, the balloons kept popping, and when the balloons stopped popping, the monkey stops freaking out. Remember, because all the balloons come out of the presents. Look what we got you,
Yeah,
Gordy.
yeah, no, I know. And the balloons popping kind of started freaking out the monkey. Yeah, but I don't. Again, I don't know how that correlates with this alien entity that happens 20 years later.
Yeah. So are we saying that the aliens are just trying to cause chaos or what? I just wish there would have been a little bit more connection. But again, had they not included the shoe, I would have been okay. I wouldn't have had the complaints about it. It's like I do. I would just been like, man, there's just screwed up monkey part.
Yeah, I would have thought that the monkey part was just giving a backstory to Stephen Yeun's character, and that was real. That's the extent of it. Was just a really interesting backstory. That's all you need to know. But no, you added that shoe part in, which has some significance, and you didn't explain it.
Oh, and this is another thing I want to say too. They obviously was a theme of like benefiting financially or having some sort of financial gain off of other people's tragedies and making that world renowned, and us sort of being not obsessed and not being able to look away from tragedy, because the girl that was on the show with him ends up showing up at his show.
Yeah, she didn't die.
And she's the one that you see in that preview. I'm trying to find a picture of her right now, who's looking up in the sky, and she's got that whole jacked up mouth thing. Like that was kind of,
yeah, she looks like a burn victim, but actually she got her face eaten off by a monkey.
Yeah, and man, I swear I had that pulled up over here, but I just can't find it. But she was, the fact that she's there was just sort of kind of creepy. Like thinking about like, oh, her life is so jacked up, but she's maybe like, he's tried to be like, I owe it to you to show you something cool, but here she is. Like, you know what I'm saying? But man, she's there like, I want to see this. And she's even got her own shirt on. I don't know if you noticed that, her own shirt from the show. That was all creepy. I loved all that. And so are they trying to say that we just can't look away from tragedy and we want to kind of get something out of it? Because then even Stephen Yeun's character is referring to the events, but sort of in a fun way, even though you're seeing the flashback in his head of how tragic it was. Then he starts talking about the Saturday Night Live sketch that they did of it, and Chris Kattan killed as the monkey. And then, then he starts talking about how people pay good money to come see this memorabilia. And so like, there's an underlying theme there as well, but I got to watch it again to really put all these pieces together. Oh, look up. Hey, W3 up in here. Hey. What it do? You saying you were watching a movie probably start. What were you watching, man? And then Daly, you got one more comment saying it would have been a better story to see Kiki in more of a mature character, like if she had a family and came back to help her brother after dad's death, painted more of a narrative of her delusion. Yeah, you know, some people, I see what you're saying, but some people deal with pain in weird ways, and maybe her way of dealing with pain was just to try to like be overly happy and ignore, you know, try to get that paycheck or that money. But it also seemed like that she maybe was sort of sick of that industry anyways. You know, she wanted to like, remember he said, I don't need your side shit.
This is my side shit.
Yeah, she's like, this is my side shit. Yeah. So there could be something like that too. But she did seem a little happy, even though her dad just died like a month and a half ago, tragically by falling coins. Yeah,
but it didn't really show her in the scene with when her dad was dying. It was OJ and him. So it makes it seem like as if she really had no part of that business until OJ needed her help.
Yeah, I think what he's saying, that it would have just been better to see that she was like kind of just distraught that her dad had suddenly died. You know, but instead she's just acting like it's no big deal. And I see what you're saying. That could have been a little bit,
or they could have touched on how they could have touched on the fact that it, you know, maybe talk about how she's so disaffected by her dad dying and why.
Yep.
That could have given another dimension to her character.
But overall, I was happy with the movie. I wasn't, like I said, blown away. Like, dude, you got it. Like when I saw Get Out, I was telling people, you got to see this movie, man. This is badass. Because Get Out's so psychological, and then at the end of it, it's like, man, it's straight up horror. They're transplanting brains. Like
Transmitting brains.
yeah, I think I just said Blaines,
Yeah.
but brains. Uh, but this one, it's just I appreciate it because it's a different movie, and in my opinion, I say keep on making different movies instead of just keeping being a cookie cutter director. So if they don't always knock out the park for me, that's okay as long as you keep trying to switch it up, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, in this day and age, man, with so many things being unoriginal, I appreciate when if director like Jordan Peele just doing something ambitious, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but he's moving on to the next.
I got to put this up from Son Hindo. He said, I think they're trying to say that people go through huge lengths for fame and fortune despite tragedy, and Hollywood actors get injured on set all the time and easily replaced for money. And that's true.
That is absolutely true, man.
Yeah,
absolutely true.
That's
and it's just, I mean, it's humanity. I mean, we can't help but drive down the highway, and we see a wreck. We want to, what can I see? So it's something as simple as that to they want it. Can I make money on recording? I mean, can
like Maynard says in Vicarious, we all feed on tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, look how many people instead of helping. Think about how many people might, instead of helping somebody in distress who's getting killed on a subway station, like in New York, instead of helping them, they pull out their phone and record it.
Yeah,
think about that.
Happens all the time. There's an old movie called Black Caesar with Fred Williamson. It was directed by Larry Cohen, who's a classic horror director. He's done a lot of the stuff you might be aware of, but he did Maniac Cop and stuff like that. But they did a scene where he shot guerrilla style, and he was filming Fred Williamson from a third floor window of a building. And Fred Williamson, a fake cop, an actor cop, walks up to him, shoots him with a blank that's loud on the street in front of everybody. Cop walks away. All these people are watching the cop walk away. Fred Williams, a black guy, Fred Williamson falling down and starting to bleed out and walking. And people are just like stepping around him, looking at him and just walking by. And this was before cell phones or anything. People had nothing in their hands. They're just like, It was just, it was amazing to watch that. So yeah, people are,
I mean,
people love their tragedy. They want to see it rather than help it.
Yeah. That's digging deep for a meaning to this film, but that could be one of them. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I got a couple more comments right here from Daly saying this was the first for black leads to do sci-fi, but it's okay to take on alien sci-fi. He says he gives it a 5. Yeah, I can see it. It's definitely not my my favorite sci-fi movie to ever come out. I think it's up there for me just because the originality in an alien invasion story. I've never seen it done this way. It was very kind of solo. It wasn't like the government's involved. And, it was just, it was a cool little quick story. And I like the idea that they didn't want to tell the government because they wanted their money. And, it's up to you in your own head to think, were there a part of Area 51 area around them that were looking and watching this thing and just letting it do its thing and monitoring it? You know what I mean? Because it was big.
Well, that TMZ reporter who flies off his bike and dies, he even says, on Google Maps, this whole area is like blurred out.
Yeah, because that thing's above it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he was also saying, Daly, you were also talking about Get Out was the first of its kind, and that's why it was so good. And you're right, it was the first of its kind. But how many times you watched Get Out after the first time? You're right. I don't know. I've rewatched. I say you're right. You might be wrong on that. I've rewatched Get Out probably 4 or 5 times now. Now I didn't rewatch it immediately when I got out of the theater, but as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, I bought it and rewatched it, and I saw more. And I rewatched it here recently because I wanted to rewatch Jordan's stuff right before we went and saw Nope, and I liked it even more. And I saw more stuff that like when you watch Sixth Sense and you see it. Then the ending and rewatch it. You see all these things. Same thing with Unbreakable and all that. And Get Out's very much like that. Us was kind of like that. I didn't see a bunch of things the second time around. I saw a few things, but this one I'm planning on seeing again. And I have a feeling I'm going to see a lot of things that I didn't notice the first time around. That's just what I think. But hey, I mean, look, we're approaching this hour, brother. You got anything else to say?
I mean, no. I mean, I think we touched on everything. And I think having some people comment and kind of bring up some points, I think we were able to digest this thing even more than what we normally would have probably
Definitely.
done. Getting some good opinions out there, and but the character development does seem to lack more than I originally thought. After some more thinking, about the Kiki character, and why was she so disaffected or unbothered by her dad dying, and why didn't they maybe touch on, well, maybe she didn't have a good upbringing with him, or she didn't like that business and didn't want to be a part of it, so she doesn't really care that he died. She don't want to be involved in this business anyways, and then she kind of gets suckered into staying there because of everything that's starting to happen. Uh, I actually liked the character OJ. I thought for a little bit, I thought maybe I was like, is he supposed to be like autistic or just not very social, and he doesn't like people very much? And you always have those characters in films that aren't very socially
they're socially awkward.
That they pick up on things, and I thought
I
thought that's where they're going with him.
I kind of think that's how he was too. He was just more of an observer, more of a thinker than a talker, but that's also how he was in Get Out. So
yeah.
But hey, to get to a couple more of these comments just real quick. Daly's saying, should it have left room for a sequel? I mean,
no.
I like the idea of you just finishing the rest of your story in your head. Does she get money for the photo? Do they finally get their payday? Does the government get involved? Is there more to it? Do they find the film reel?
Where did this thing come from?
Right. So I like just finishing the story and leaving it open to interpretation.
I don't think that every time a movie like this comes out, it needs to have a sequel. I mean, sometimes it's fine to just leave it be.
Yep, I agree. And also, Son Hindo, I appreciate you saying that our stuff was dope and you subscribe to us and you'll see us live a lot, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Every little bit helps. And so, yeah, this makes the streams a lot more fun too. And we have some interaction too. And yeah, thank you too, Daly. Appreciate you joining as well. Please, anytime, we're all about it. And again, you don't have to like the movies we're watching. You just have to comment it and be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's plenty of stuff that Andrew and I love together, and there's plenty of stuff that we just fully disagree on.
Hey, and for you two guys, Sando and Daly, we are filmmakers ourselves. We have a short film that we are about to release coming up. So
Late Court, that's what it's called.
Yeah. So get ready for that trailer. We'll release that trailer sometime, hopefully next week.
Yeah, I'm really honestly thinking about next week. The trailer should be out, and the trailer should be out, and it'll be on our channel. So if not early next week, by the end of next week for sure. So yeah, you guys keep on the lookout for it. And again, thank y'all for joining.
For sure.
Hey, also, we always say on this channel, if life gives you lemons,
make some hot fresh popcorns.
Oh snap! Sorry, you guys have a good one. Man, I don't have any of this shit pulled up like I normally do because I don't have my mouse and we got way too many pictures. So all right, we'll do it this time. Make some hot fresh popcorns.
Ho-ho!